It's an honor to be here. It's a very important area for us. We've done more for, and I say this, I say it proudly, more for the black population than any president since Abraham Lincoln. That's a big statement. And crooked Joe Biden has done nothing for you except talk. It's only talk. It's all talk. He gets nothing. He gets nothing for anyone who was lost. He's in Europe. He's walking around. He doesn't know where the hell he is, and he's supposed to help Detroit. I don't think so. But we achieved the lowest African-American unemployment rate and the lowest African-American poverty rate ever recorded during my 4 years. We lifted 6.6 million people out of poverty. Black Americans saw their largest increase in home ownership on record. There's never been anything like it. This is during our period of time. We gave record funding to historically black colleges and universities. You all know that.
So one of the biggest crooks in the country. And by that, 34 counts is what I'm talking about.
Convicted felon, yeah.
Convicted felon is telling black people that people are coming for their jobs. This is the narrative that is being pushed to black voters. And they keep saying, you know, oh, black people are going to him. Can we look at the church? Can we get a visual of the church?
Of the black church.
Yeah. Now, I'm not sure that most of these people even knew where that church was before they knew he was coming there.
All right, guys, so Trump went to Detroit, Michigan this weekend, and he spoke at a black church, and the church erupted in chants for Trump. It is something that you would think that Democrats would love to see, but apparently in this situation, they really didn't like seeing this because they were making fun of the black church because they had white people that attended the event for Trump.
Donald Trump just gave a speech in Detroit in what was supposed to be a black church, although take a look at this picture of Trump's audience at the 180 church, that's what it's called, in Detroit. Tell me what you see right there. Here's what we posted on the social channels of Midas Touch also, when we said, tell us what you see right here as well, because as you look at it, I mean, I think Detroit, over 70% of the population or so is black, and in this church that just simply doesn't look like who's there. Here, take a look at this, then I got to show you some more cognitive issues of Donald Trump. Just take a look at this video for yourself.
Which goes against the Democrats and their belief that diversity is great no matter what, right? They love diversity, except they didn't love the diversity of seeing white people in a black church there to support Trump. There were also black people there as well, too. And it's just funny because none of these people were questioning the authenticity of the black church when Biden showed up to a black church and there was a ton of white people in the crowd.
That's all right. That's all right. That's all right.
If you listen to Democrats at face value, you would think that they would celebrate something like that. But apparently when it comes to the diversifying of Trump's base of support, Democrats don't really like that, right? They really don't like that. So there's a lot of cope and denial about the fact that, hey, Trump's support among black voters is gaining. And it's very simple. It's because everybody can see through the political persecutions that are happening to Trump. And also on top of that, the economy was just better off under Trump. The border was more secure. And it seems as if black people are starting to actually care about real issues and not just the Democrats boohoo whining crying racism.
Him getting convicted of paying his lawyer and calling it a legal fee is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard. You know what I'm saying? So, if anything, that's making my support grow stronger, because I see people get falsely convicted and the court system go target somebody. If they got a target on your back, obviously they'll make up anything. It was clearly targeted, and they wanted to do it before the election. It's too clear that it was political. If he's such a big criminal, racist, this, that, and the other, and the thing you get him for is paying his lawyer, I'm with him.
Because I tell you, black men are not happy with the Biden-Harris administration. And the Biden-Harris administration knows this. That's why they have someone in Detroit every other week. For the last 5 weekends, every other week, somebody from the Biden-Harris administration here. And they're not coming here and saying, hey, we did this, they did this. They're coming here to keep us docile, keep us unaware, keep us simple and meek. But we know life was better under Trump. We know we had more money in our pockets under the Trump administration. We know we weren't going to our local gas station making major financial decisions between a bag of chips and a can of pop. We know what that feels like. So as we go forward, looking back like the Sankofa bird, make the right decision. Make the right decision not based off of emotions, but based off of economics. Make the right decision based off of how your family could be better positioned. Make that decision. We got Sheree Tanadar as our congressman. That is just like, not in Detroit. That's just how confused they have us.
Yeah, I definitely can verify that a vast majority of black voters in this country are in fact confused, okay, because that's the only way they can vote Democrat, okay, especially liberal black women who vote for Democrats at a 95% clip, okay, which is unheard of, okay? I'm not entirely sure exactly how the Democrats have such a stranglehold on liberal black women. Actually, I do know, right? It's called welfare. But, hey, all I'm saying is that it seems as if the tides are turning, okay? It seems as if the election was held today, that Trump would win, and one of the reasons why he would win is because Democrats are losing black support, okay? And that Trump's black support is going up. Again, remember, Republicans / Trump does not have to win the black vote. All he has to do is just make sure that black people don't vote for Biden, right? And that is the path to victory. And it looks like that Trump is going to turn in an all-time performance for Republican when it comes to the black vote. So much so that even CNN is shocked that the polls are consistently showing that, hey, Trump's support among black people is remaining strong compared to Republicans in the past. Speechless.
CNN senior data reporter Harry Enten is with us. So where does the race stand among African-American voters right now?
Yeah, I keep looking for this to change, to go back to a historical norm, and it simply put has not yet. So this is the margin, or Biden and Trump among black voters, compare where we were at this point in 2020, compare where we are now. At this point, look at this. In 2020, Joe Biden was getting 86% of the African-American vote. Look at where it is now. It's 70%. That's a 16-point drop, John. And more than that, it's not just that Joe Biden is losing ground, it's that Donald Trump is gaining ground. You go from 7%, single digits at this point in 2020, to now 21%. And again, John, I keep looking for signs that this is going to go back to normal, and I don't see it yet in the polling. If anything, right now we're careening towards a historic performance for a Republican presidential candidate, the likes of which we have not seen in 6 decades.
And when you dig into this number here, what is the makeup of that number?
This is where we get very interesting. So I decided to dive deeper into the crosstabs, figure out where is it that Joe Biden is truly struggling among black voters. All right, so this is black voters, Biden versus Trump margin. Look at black voters age 50 and older, and you'll see, look, Joe Biden was leading amongst this group at this point by 83 points back in 2020. Now it's 74 points. So, yeah, a slight decline in that margin, but nothing out of this world. Look at black voters under the age of 50. Holy cow, folks. Holy cow. Look at this. Joe Biden was up by 80 points among this group back at this point in 2020. Look at where that margin has careened down towards. It's now just, get this, 37 points. That lead has dropped by more than half, Mr. Berman. I just never seen anything like this. I'm like speechless, because you always look at history and you go, okay, this is a historic moment. If this polling is anywhere near correct, we are looking at a historic moment right now where black voters under the age of 50, which have historically been such a big part of the Democratic coalition, are leaving it in droves.
That is a huge drop over a 4-year period, at least right now. All right, what's the impact of third-party candidacies here? Robert Kennedy Jr.
Yeah, all right, so obviously we have third-party candidates this year with the two major party candidates being so disliked. All right, so this is black voters, Biden versus Trump in the battleground states. This was according to a poll last month from the New York Times, Siena College. Again, looks very similar to what we see nationally, right? Joe Biden at 63, a very poor position for a Democratic candidate. Donald Trump at 23%. If we add Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to this, look at where Joe Biden drops to. Less than half the vote among black voters. Less than half the vote among black voters in the battleground states. Donald Trump drops as well to 14%, so not quite nearly as historic. But look at this, RFK with 11%. You basically have a legitimate sort of three-way race here. Yeah, Joe Biden well ahead, but with less than 50% of the vote. John, I never thought I would see something like this among black voters.
And for those questioning who Robert Kennedy would hurt more, at least in these numbers, in this measurement right here, Biden loses 14, Trump loses 9. So it's clearly Joe Biden.
It's exactly right. It seems to me this is, yes, it's partially a artifact of Donald Trump perhaps being better liked among black voters, but it's also a real artifact of Joe Biden being significantly less liked among black voters than he was 4 years ago.
Harry.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that, okay? CNN, speechless over the growing black support for Trump, right? I never thought I'd see this day where black people actually don't support Democrats so much, right? Even though, again, black people still overwhelmingly support Democrats. It's just so funny how even the liberal handlers are shocked that, hey, they're leaving the plantation, right? They're not falling for our propaganda anymore. We're shocked, okay? It's just so funny listening to these people talk. They tell you everything that they think, right, out loud, okay? They say the quiet part out loud. But I want to react to this further conversation on CNN, where they're going to react to these polls showing that Biden's black support is declining and Trump's black support is going up.
Joining me now, CNN political commentator Bakari Sellers and Republican strategist Joseph Pinion. Thank you, gentlemen. You just heard Harry Enten with shock and surprise on his face as he was looking at the numbers. And I want to go to you first, Bakari. What explains this? Biden, 70%, Trump in 2024, 21% of voters, a very high number. And then when you look at 50 and under, the numbers are dramatically different for any Democratic president that we have ever seen. These numbers very high for a Republican candidate. What explains that, you think?
Poor polling. I mean, if you want to be honest about it, if Donald Trump gets those numbers, then I truly believe that I can sell Harry this bridge in Brooklyn. I mean, that's just not happening. I think that people have to just level set a little bit, relax a little bit, stop hyperventilating. Donald Trump is not going to get 20% of the black vote.
Wow. You heard this smug con artist saying that, oh, well, it's impossible for Trump to get 20% of the black vote. What is he actually really saying? What he actually really is saying is that it's impossible for black people to not vote for Democrats, right? This is what he's actually saying. That all black people think alike, and they're all going to go and they're going to vote for Joe Biden. This is what he's saying.
Simply not. Black voters traditionally, as we go throughout this process, as you get to Labor Day, etc., a lot of black voters do come home to the Democratic Party. There are warning lights. I've said it from the past 3 or 4 months about turnout. But I think that Harry and everyone else who are looking at these polls analyze this race incorrectly all the time. And the reason they analyze this race incorrectly is because Donald Trump isn't the biggest threat to Joe Biden. The biggest threat to Joe Biden is black voters staying at home. Black voters aren't going to all of a sudden under the age of 50 or however old they are because he gets, 4 or 5 unnamed rappers from Detroit or 4 or 5 unnamed rappers from the Bronx to support him. They're not going to all of a sudden, flock to Donald Trump. There is a threat, however.
Well, it's not about that. It's not about celebrity endorsements. That's not what's driving black people to vote for Trump. It's about the economy. It's about the border. It's about these soft on crime Democrat policies. But again, this guy is accusing everybody else of analyzing the situation wrong. But this dude is clearly analyzing the situation wrong because he's not bringing up any of the core issues that black people are actually concerned about that the Biden administration has failed to address. Again, mainly the economy, the border, crime. These are things that are driving black voters to Trump. I mean, these are things that are driving everybody to Trump, really. But again, this clown who believes he's smarter than everybody else, right? He knows more than everybody else. The polling is poor. It's impossible for black people to vote 20% for Trump. Impossible. He really thinks that's happening, or that people believe this because there are a few rappers or no-name rappers that have endorsed Trump. When, again, that's not the reason why people are saying this. The reason why people are saying this is because of the conditions of the economy.
That black voters simply will stay at home because they feel sometimes like those policies passed in Washington, D.C. haven't necessarily touched their pockets.
Ding, 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 genius. You finally got to it, right? You finally got to probably some accurate reason in regards to what we're seeing happening when it comes to black voters. Also Hispanics as well, too. Basically, at the end of the day, what people actually really care about is their wallets, right? They care about the economy. And when you talk about people who are struggling in Biden's economy, those who are on the lower end of the socioeconomic ladder, those are the people that are struggling the most. So, of course, those individuals and the makeup of those individuals, they're going to go to the candidate that they feel is going to be best for the economy, best for their standard of living. Now, again, Bakari Sellers refuses to acknowledge the fact that Trump's economy was much better than Biden's, and that's part of the reason why. It's not just the Democrats and their failure. It's also the fact that Trump was so successful, okay? That's what people got to understand. People were much better off under Trump because of his policies, and people are much worse off under Joe Biden because of his policies.
So I don't have the same shock and awe. I just think here we are in the middle of summer and things will stabilize and get back to norms as they always do.
But the numbers are the numbers, Bakari. I mean, are you saying just don't believe the polls, or are you saying you don't think these polls will be representative of the population once voting begins in November?
Oh, both. I think that traditionally, I think what we've seen over the past 8 years is pretty bad polling. And then I think what you've seen consistently since that time is individuals have a very difficult time acknowledging that we've had bad polling, and then the polling continuously gets worse. And so I think that's one of the issues that we have. But I mean, the Biden campaign they do have issues with African-American voters in terms of getting them to turn out to vote. That is a fact. That I was with Kamala Harris last week in Charlotte, North Carolina, and one of the things she was trying to do was ensure that she got black voters to the polls, particularly younger black voters. So they are working towards that. But Donald Trump's not getting 20% of the black vote. That I can sit here and say that as a fact today.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can say that as a fact because nobody's voted yet, right? I think you can say that as an opinion, and who knows? Maybe this will age well, maybe it won't age well. I don't know. I do think that he has a point when it comes to the polling in the past, right? Not necessarily being as accurate as people would like. I'm not necessarily sure if the polls are entirely inaccurate, which is what a lot of people say. I don't think that's the case. I just think that they're not as accurate as people would like them to be. And I think a lot of people don't understand how the margin of error works in the sense that, yes, you can have polls showing, somebody consistently winning, but if they're winning within the margin of error, then there's a decent chance that, hey, the opponent or the other person could actually win because, again, those polls already kind of account for the fact that, hey, we might not necessarily be very accurate in regards to the outcome or what we're predicting, okay? Again, that's what happened in 2016 for the most part. A lot of those polls had Hillary winning, beating Trump. However, a lot of those key swing states that Trump did win, he was polling within the margin of error. So there was a chance that he could win those states, right? A decent chance. And I think that's what people got to understand. But I definitely understand where he's coming from in the sense that I'm skeptical of the black vote as well, too, right? I'm skeptical that Trump will get 20%, but I'm not out here saying that it will never happen or that it can't happen as a matter of fact. I'm just saying that until black people come out here and prove that they're willing to vote for Trump or Republican at 20%, I'm going to be skeptical. However, I am cautiously optimistic. And I will say that, yeah, Bakari Sellers also is right about this idea that, well, you know, black people sitting at home is probably the biggest threat to Joe Biden. Yeah, I think he's right about that, because if black people don't vote for Joe Biden, then it's over, right? I mean, Republicans don't actually really need the black vote to win. They just need black people not to vote for Democrats, right? So he is right about that, okay? It's not all cope and denial, but at the same time, I would not come out here and say, as a matter of fact, that black people are not going to vote for Trump at that margin, because I think that we are witnessing history. I think that the demographics of the parties are shifting in ways that, again, we should be acknowledging that, hey, this is happening. And Democrats, they don't want to acknowledge it, okay? And as long as they live in denial of the fact that they're losing their victimhood coalition, right, that is falling apart, I think they're in for a shock come November, especially when you talk about the Hispanic vote or Latino vote. I think that it probably is going to end up being around 15% of black people voting for Trump. If I had to guess, I'm not sure if it'll be as high as 20%, but 15 would basically be enough to put a nail in the Democrats' coffin when it comes to Joe Biden's chances of being reelected. But hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share. A Black Conservative Perspective. Peace.